Hey, what's up guys, Jedith here, and this video is going to be a quick tip to help you improve your interrupt or kick game, as players like to call it. We say kick just as a replacement for interrupting because Rogue's interrupt is called a kick, and that's just how it kind of grew since classic. People call it kicking, but interrupt, whatever your interrupt is called. For Demon Hunter, it's called disrupt, and it can be kind of a overwhelming and consuming thing to try to focus on in Mythic Plus when you're running in and you're assigned a kick. You're also focusing on your rotation and dodging mechanics and whatever. There's a lot of things that are utilizing bandwidth of your brain. So there are some things that you can do to make that task just a little bit easier so it becomes sort of autopilot and you don't have to focus on it as much. So what I like to do is I like to set up a focus kick macro. There's a couple things that come with this. There's two macros. So the first macro that I have is this one. So I have this bound to a mouse button, and it's just /focus Mouseover. So I have it bound to a mouse button, and whenever I put my mouse over and I press that button, you can see here it sets that target as my focus. This is now my focus target. So I can click away, do whatever. This focus target will always stay here. Okay, so that's my focus target. Yours might look different depending on your UI. If you're using like the default Blizzard UI, it'll probably be larger, wherever it is on your screen, however you have it set up. Okay, so that's macro one. Second macro is this one. So this is an interrupt macro that uses it on first your focus target. So /cast at focus exists. So if you have a focus, it will use this on that focus target. If you do not have a focus, it will just use your interrupt normally. So like I said, for me on Havoc Demon Hunter, our interrupt is called disrupt. So that's what I have here. You would just replace disrupt with whatever your interrupt is called, whether it's kick, pummel, whatever, right? So this is also on a mouse button. So I'll give you an example of what this is going to look like. I'm in Altaldazar right now, and I decided to come here because this is sort of an ode to Dratnos. He made a video on this years and years and years ago. I'm sure you could look it up on YouTube if you really want to go searching for it.
Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos.
He made a video going over this exact thing, and he was in Altaldazar, and I learned it from him, so I decided to come here. And it is relevant because we are still doing this dungeon in Mythic Plus this season. So say I'm in this dungeon with a group, and I'm assigned the Confessor kick. So I'm in charge of getting interrupts on this Confessor. So as I'm running in, as we're approaching this pack, I'm going to put my mouse over the Confessor and hit my focus button. So that now sets the Confessor as my focus here. Then, now I don't need to be targeting the Confessor to kick it. See, I'm targeting this Juggernaut here. Once this Confessor starts casting, I can press my focus interrupt macro, and that used my interrupt on that target without having to swap targets. So this saves you the sort of steps in the process of either always having the target that you want to be interrupting always targeted, which isn't ideal because sometimes you want to be focusing other mobs, right? Or if you're focusing on one in particular and you have to kick another, you don't want to have to like find where it is, target it, click on it, and then kick it, because it's just wasting time. And you can, it can be a little clumsy. Maybe you'll click on a different mob that you didn't mean to or whatever. So with this, you don't have to do that because you have it just set to your focus. So that is going to really, really save you a lot of headache in Mythic Plus. Honestly, even in Raid sometimes there's interrupts that need to happen in Raid. What you can do as well, I like to have the interrupt, the focus interrupt on a macro, on a mouse keybind. But then on number 5, I also just have like a natural interrupt button, like straight from my spellbook, because sometimes you might have a mob focused. Okay, I have the augur focused and I plan on kicking the augur, but say something happens. We accidentally pull a Confessor and someone else, whoever else was assigned to this Confessor, accidentally used their interrupt and they don't have it for when the Confessor casts, and it's quickly put on your shoulders to swap and use your interrupt on the Confessor instead, which is going to be a little tricky because you've already set this one as your focus, and your interrupt macro says if you have a focus target and you press the button, it's going to use the interrupt on your focus target. One way around that is to swap your focus by going to the Confessor and clicking your focus macro. But sometimes you don't have time to do that, right? You don't have time. It's just happening very quickly, right? So what I like to do is I have both. I have my focus macro, and I also have just like a regular interrupt on my number 5. So this confessor is going to start casting. I would swap to it and use my interrupt there. So it's good to just have a regular natural interrupt as like a backup in case something happens. Another option is to make actually a Mouseover interrupt. I have one here for throw glaive, but you would just replace this with disrupt. Right, so it's the same thing. It's just /cast at Mouseover disrupt, and then a throw glaive, swap that to disrupt as well. So what it would do is just interrupt whatever you have your mouse currently hovered over. And I have that for like throw glaive. I don't really use that for interrupts personally, but that's just me. I like my focus macro and I like just the natural interrupt. That's what I use for interrupting. I think if you don't already utilize this and you start doing it, interrupting is going to be so much easier for you because there's so much pressure on your shoulders to make sure you get the interrupt that you're assigned to. And if you don't get it, people get mad and they yell at you and then you wipe and then the key's depleted. So don't miss interrupts. Make sure you get them, and using this macro can really help you do that. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you next time. Peace.